A nice change of pace now. A look back at a champion from a few years ago. He won the British super middleweight title twice. He fought Chris Eubank for the WBO title. And after 12 years as a professional, he walked away from boxing in 1997. His name is Sam Storey. I saw Sam a few weeks ago at the latest prize fighter at York Hall, and he looked about 25. He was in great form. He looked fantastic. He's living in Spain, and I called him up earlier, and I started by asking him how he managed to look so young and refreshed.
Well, one, I'm able to do what I want now, rather than having to be in the gym twice, sometimes 3 times a day.
Yep.
And you know, some people say to me, do you miss the boxing game? And I say, no, not at all. But what I do miss, and I'm really honest on this one, I miss the big fights. And I understand why you hear people who have retired and they come back after 2 or 3 years, making a big comeback. I understand
They missed the lights, they missed the noise. Sam, after the boxing, you went, what, is it into the restaurant game?
I went into the restaurant game. I opened up, would you believe, a Mexican restaurant in Northern Ireland. It was the first Mexican restaurant in Northern Ireland, and then I opened up a second one, and then after 7 years we got out of it.
Oh, your game.
Yes, absolutely, because even if someone said to me, I will give you the busiest restaurant in London, I would say, no thanks.
I've had enough of that.
I've had enough of that. I've been there, done it, and I don't want to do it again.
But what I know, because I bumped into you the other week, and what people are telling me, Sam, is that, and you kept your mouth shut about it, because that's the kind of guy you are, but you're doing a lot of this kind of motivational sort of keynote speaking. How did that come about?
Well, that came about, would you believe, a few years ago, whenever my wife and myself were at a dinner with a lot of friends. And, you know, a dinner is the way all the stories start being told, or whatever. Everyone has their own stories. Well, obviously, I was telling a lot of boxing stories, and one person turned around to my friend and said, how long has Sam been on the speaking circuit? And he says, well, he's not. And so my friend told me this, and, you know, it's something that I've always liked to do. I just love when I get in company telling boxing stories, or whatever type of story there is.
So many of them.
Yeah, so many of them. And so on the way home in the car, my wife and I started talking about it, and we said, well, maybe you should look a wee bit more into this. And then that's what got the ball rolling.
And what do you do, Sam? Like a sort of small groups, or sort of banks, or you know kind of thing. I mean, are you sort of going out on the corporate circuit, or do you do sort of more like a stand? How does it work?
I do right across the board. I've done football teams.
Oh, wow.
I've done individuals. I've done companies, and yes, it goes right across the board, because what the motivational talk is all about is it's my stories about the boxing game, the highs and the lows, and it's like an emotional roller coaster that I take the people through, because as we all know, in the game of boxing, just like most other sports, the lows are pretty bad, and there were times where things were very bad in my life, and of course in the boxing game there were times where it was very, very good. You
know, it's amazing that, you know, when the highs and the lows, because fighters have experienced highs and the lows, it's only in retrospect 5, 10, 15, 20 years after that you look back and you think, how did I come through that? And so you're absolutely, really, and that happens with fighters, the fighters I've been around.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes you guys 10 years to realise what you actually achieved, and against such incredible odds.
Absolutely. And what I didn't bank on all those years ago was that a few of my defeats were in the future going to help me make a living, because then that's what I do. I tell about the defeats, I tell about the victories, and how I felt, obviously, when I was the champion, and then how I felt whenever basically no one wanted to talk to me. And I try and get that across to the audience that I'm talking to. And the name of my speak is Change the Picture, and that's been my attitude all through my boxing career. You just never know what tomorrow brings.
You just never know.
There'll be a different picture.
So what's next for you, Stan? When are you and I going to bump into each other again? You're going to go to some of these big fights that are coming up in Britain?
Well, that was the first fight that I've been to in quite a few years, Steve. The prize fighter there, the heavyweights, and I think, because at the moment At the moment, I've got a gymnasium, a boxing
Over in
fitness
Spain?
gymnasium over in Spain, and it's for the public, because what I've always wanted to do, as well as the keynote speaking, what I've always wanted to do was open a boxing gym for the public, and I just never got around to it. So when I got to Spain, a few of my friends said, "Oh, could you give me a couple of lessons in boxing?"
Yeah.
And I was trying to put it off because, and then again, Lisa, my wife, said, "Look, you're going to have to sometimes think you're a wee bit odd that you won't, put the gloves on them and just give them a couple of sessions." So then 2 people will come in the house, 3 people, 4 people, 5
Getting
people.
busier.
Then I got out of hand. I couldn't take them to the house anymore. So I looked for premises, and now I got a fully kitted out boxing gym for the public. And what I did was, to keep their interest really high, I brought them over to the prize fighter in London. They absolutely
Did they
loved
like
it.
that?
They absolutely loved it. You see, boxing over in Spain, Steve, isn't as high as it is back home in Britain.
Yeah.
It's not football over here, basketball, golf, tennis, they're all the main sports. Boxing is very, very low on the scale. So I'm hoping that over the next few years to change that.
Sam, how can people get in touch with you? If they want to know more about your gym in Spain or more about your talk, is there a simple website people can use?
SamStoreyBoxing.com.
SamStoreyBoxing.com. Big Sam, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you.